Last few examples of section 2.2, you're going to graph a few numbers again, and then you're going to compare them. So let me remind you here, you've already had something like this where you're going to be comparing a fraction to a decimal. So make sure you're turning your fraction into a decimal, and that'll provide the best comparison. Unless you want to go from a decimal to a fraction and compare the fractions like that. But I think that's a little bit more difficult. Try problem 9 and 10. Let's go ahead and jump into 11. 11 is very important because in 1342, you're going to have a number line and it's up to you to divide it. So far, we've divided all the number lines for you. If you notice, they're all perfect, 0 here, and all these lines are real nice and pretty. And so now it's your turn to break up your own line. So the first thing we want to see is, what's the scale? What should I divide my line into? In this case, calling your attention to the numbers that we have, they're all below 1. So if I was given a number line just like this, I would go in and label it 0, 1. Of course, I labeled these already for you because I wanted you to have that clue. But if you didn't have that clue of having 0 to 1, you always want to observe your numbers, your numbers here, to see what your scale should be. Ready? Let's try it. So because I have 0 to 1, I'm going to go in halfway mark, and I'm going to mark 0.5. And that means that if I halfway again, this is going to be 0.25. And this halfway would be 0.75. Now, this should provide enough structure for the rest of your problems. You can definitely label more points. To me, this provides enough structure. What if you don't like halfway marks and you don't want to do 0.25 and you want to do in tenths? So you would do 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4, right? So it's all up to you what works best for you. Now that I have this one here, let's go ahead and leave this one, just showing you different ways. And one of the things you want to make sure is that they're kind of evenly spaced, right? You can't have something like this. Let me show you. This is no good, right? If you were labeling 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, and then you had 0.9 here. That would be weird. So make sure, they're evenly spaced as best as possible. Let's go ahead and graph. We have 0.01. Don't confuse that with tenth, right? So this is going to be really close to 0. 0.25. Ooh, I took that one off, but it should lie right in the middle. 0.90, 9 tenths. Well, that's exactly on my number line. 0.75, I took it off, but it would have been somewhere around here. 0.40, or 4 tenths, and 5 tenths. Perfect. All right, so you're going to try 12. And what you're going to notice in this case is that I wanted you to focus on your numbering. This one starts at 0.2 or 2 tenths, and this one starts at 4 tenths. Make sure that you are paying attention to those and that your lines are evenly spaced as much as humanly possible.